The world of solo apocalypse. Imagine opening your eyes in the vast expanse of space, and you're greeted by a sight unlike anything you've ever witnessed. Surrounded by vibrant galaxies, erupting nebulas, and mesmerizing stars, the beauty of the universe envelops you, leaving you in awe. You don't know why you're here, but you're content to simply exist in this breathtaking scene. This web novel, written by Unreliable and posted on Royal Road, is a story of a protagonist's journey throughout the world of solo apocalypse. The story starts with the protagonist waking to find themselves in an awe-inspiring, cosmic setting, as if they're at the very center of the universe. And as the protagonist takes in their surroundings, they begin to question how they got there and what their purpose is in this strange place. Let's dive right into what makes the world and the protagonist so special. This story takes place on Earth, more specifically an Earth that is in the process of being destroyed and being born again into something new. Natural disasters, the death of billions, the rise of new creatures altered by this apocalypse. The very structure of this Earth is being changed. This all leads to a new frontier for humanity, where they have to cope with this change the best they can. And as we get deeper into the story, we see how humans cope with this change. Some cope well, and some not at all. This is a system apocalypse story, so the humans are given systems with unique classes and skills. They can level up by killing monsters, bosses, they can conquer dungeons, they can earn achievements. All these things can boost their levels and stats, which allow them to grow stronger and keep pace with this new world. I'm sure you've all seen a version of this story before. The world turns upside down, monsters start appearing, and humanity starts to get all these new abilities to fight for themselves. The story always comes down to the struggle between humanity and survival. Survival in this new and dangerous place they once knew as their home. It could come in the form of monsters and aliens. It's always something that fundamentally shifts the balance of power in the world and knocks humanity down to the bottom. I don't think solo apocalypse stands out much in the story regards, but there are a few things to note. The answers are given at the beginning of the story. When the protagonist wakes up in this strange place, he's given all the answers. He knows why the monsters are appearing. He knows why the world is changing. For better or for worse, he knows everything. A strange cosmic entity basically tells him the entire plotline and the perceived ending. While humanity is struggling in the dark, trying to find a reason, an answer to why the world is undergoing this change, the protagonist already knows. And as for why is the world of solo apocalypse changing? You're going to have to read the story to find out, but it's not what you think. Our main character is called Evahn, and the first thing we learn about him is that he's a university student, which is pretty irrelevant for the entire story because the entire world has gone to hell, and universities are kind of meaningless now. Shortly after waking up and killing a goblin, he's given a class scaled by the system. We know that the system decides your class based on your personality and life choices. So when Evahn is given a class called Solo, we can immediately assume some things about him, namely that he's a lone man. But rather than a typical power fantasy loner, there are a few things that stand out. The class description reads as follows. Class Solo. The Solo excels at what their name suggests. They are self-sufficient individuals who rely entirely on themselves. Their specialty lies in their capacity to act on their own. Their skills have a wide range of applications and are not necessarily confined to any one field, only whatever path is chosen is walked alone. Evahn is quite capable by himself, and although company is nice, he has a capacity to work by himself. What I find most interesting about his class skill is that the skill that comes with the class. Skill, never alone. Even when working alone, it never hurts to have another set of eyes. Better yet, when they're yours. You're able to replicate yourself to a certain degree and capacity. It's a bit of an oxymoron considering his class, but the two go together in interesting ways. Here's my analysis on his character based on the system, class, and skill. He's self-sufficient. He doesn't need any social interaction. He's learned to work on his own and he's good at it. But Evahn doesn't really want to be alone. His class skill is assigned defiance of his solo class. He wants someone to talk to and to rely on, but his solo nature prevents that. Evahn is lonely, he doesn't have any friends, so he only has himself. Before the apocalypse, this wouldn't have been in a literal sense, but now he can manifest his personality trait as a skill. The story becomes really interesting when Evahn meets survivor groups and joins one, then several. The conflict with his solo class and his need to survive clash. I won't talk about much about it here, but you can read the story to find out how that plays out. The genre of the story is mostly adventure, fantasy, apocalypse, system apocalypse, mixed with constant action. The themes of the story are harder to spot. Perseverance, hope, some mystery and intrigue, a bit of everything really. One of the biggest themes is rebirth. You might have noticed that the protagonist, Evahn, has a class designed about him being a loner. And if you've read system apocalypse stories before, you already know what that should look like. But the story takes a bit of a cool down when the protagonist decides not to go alone. Against his very nature, he decides to help groups of people and integrate themselves with them. When I first saw this, I was confused because of his class and personality were clearly that of a lone man. But this is an apocalypse. The entire world is being changed. Billions of people are dying, creatures are changing. The very nature of this apocalypse is to knock humans down a peg and allow for other creatures to take reign of Earth. Humanity has to fundamentally change for them to remain on top, and that change starts small. Evahn doesn't want to be alone, so when the apocalypse happens, I think it slowly changes that solo nature of his. Wow, that was quite a mouthful. Of course, that's only a theory, a royal world theory. Solo apocalypse is a great introduction to the system apocalypse genre if you're a newbie, and if you're already accustomed to this genre, then it has some minor surprises for you, but nothing world-shattering. The story is quite interesting, and Evan's inner monologue brings an interesting, almost insider look into the story and how it progresses. And although the story is still in its beginning stages, the chapters already posted on Royal World indicate a bright future ahead. The end.